Hello, fellow Airgun Geeks. Wow, it's 2026. This is our 5th anniversary of doing this fantastic podcast.
Such a joy to be back for another whole year, Pat. Really is.
I agree. Well, let's get down to business and thank the people that have been with us for a while now.
Yeah, we got to pay the bills, Pat. We got to pay the
Most
bills.
definitely. The bills are expensive, especially nowadays. Got to pay the gas. So first, I want to thank Donnie FL. He's been a supporter of the podcast since day one. I greatly appreciate all the support that Donnie FL and his team have done over the years in the airgun world and in supporting the Airgun Geeks podcast.
And word on the street is possibly supporting the Airgun Geeks with a really cool giveaway this year.
Mm.
And then we've got Tom over at High Pressure Pneumatics. And if you're looking for a really good online experience and also a really, really nice brick and mortar store experience, Tom has got it going on. It's his passion. It comes through in everything he does. I do urge you to show him some love. He's been on a bumpy road ever since around Thanksgiving of 2025. There were some issues that he faced on a technical aspect that really kicked his business in the jimmies. So, do show some love to Tom. And I'll tell you what, Pat, he's got some killer deals on used air guns that really make my mouse finger itch when I'm looking at those, and I'm like, oh, I'd like to have that. And if you have a gun that you're interested in buying used, you can always call Tom and say, hey, Tom, can you keep an eye out for this? Because sometimes his natural interest might not be aligned with yours, but if you tell him to keep his eyes peeled, he gets people in there every week. So do make that call. Do reach out and show him some support and tell him that the Airgun Geek sent you.
Definitely. He's also got a YouTube channel. It's High Pressure Pneumatics on YouTube. He does a video every Wednesday of stuff that's going on at the shop and whatnot. You can ask questions and whatnot too.
That's actually how I learned about his used gun selection.
Yep. And then that's the whole point why I mentioned it. Yeah. So our third sponsor is Palm Beach Airguns down here in Florida, which I am blessed to work there twice a week.
They actually let you in?
Yeah, once in a while. Yeah. So I want to thank all the people who have come there and bought because they've seen on the podcast and said hi and have signed up for the podcast and listened. It's been great. The comments have been awesome. One thing to know that if you're down in Florida, Palm Beach Airguns is the only retail-facing brick and mortar store in the whole state of Florida. And we cover all sorts of stuff there. So it's always good to come in. I like to tell people it's a lot like a barbershop, but we don't cut hair. In other words, we like to talk. So come on in, check us out. They're open Monday through Friday from 12p to 6p, because on the weekends, we're out shooting iguanas or just enjoying life. So thank you all the sponsors for all the years of support.
Yeah, and I want to thank Palm Beach Air as well for supporting the Airgun Geeks shooting team for going on 2 years now. That is so huge. And right now, the QR code for our YouTube viewers, this QR code will take you right to Palm Beach Air, so you can use your phone for that. The one that's up right now is for Tom at High Pressure Pneumatics. So if you want a really quick, easy way to link right to him, that QR code on the screen is the way to do that. Just point your phone at it in photo mode, and that link should pop up. And then last but not least is Donnie at Donnie FL. This is his QR code. So there'll be ways to get the word out and get in touch with them, find out what they have, and great way to support the people who support your Airgun Geeks.
Definitely. And definitely make a difference in the airgun community and with supplies and whatnot.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm glad that the bills are paid. That's always exciting. So I want to start with honoring a friend, a fellow competitor, someone who made a big difference in the airgun world as far as aftermarket parts, ideas, brainstorming with people, just a genuine, awesome guy. And that is Val Simmons. I don't know if a lot of you have heard, but Val Simmons suddenly passed away on February 14th of 2026, which a lot of people don't know. He was born on February 14th, 1954, if I remember correct, same as my mom, and died on February 14th, 2026. So all the times that I can remember with Val, the very first time, it was like I've known him forever. I've shot speed against him with that fantastic FX revolution that he had. We had tons of fun, great conversations. Was just a genuine, awesome guy, and he talked to everyone.
And
And
he was so dang funny.
oh,
He had a witty comeback or just a comment that would leave you in stitches every time that man spoke.
even he wouldn't say nothing. He'd just look at you, and you'd start laughing. And he just made everyone feel welcome. You know, just the stories talking to Thane and whatnot, and just, I mean, him being Thane's dad, you know, and all those memories and stuff. Man, Thane was a lucky young man there to have him. So he's going to be thoroughly missed, but he will never be forgotten. That is one thing. So we just want to take a moment of silence in memory of Val Simmons. All right. Val, you'll never be forgotten. All right. So last time we met up, Bill, was Christmas. And we had a fun little thing going on and talking about the end of the year and playing with air guns.
We had a very interesting guest that day.
Yes, we did.
That was Nibs from Walnut and Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I got to jawing on about Crossman 760s. And we dragged Pat into a three-way competition. And Pat went into it kicking and screaming. Mm-hmm. But Nibs was kind enough to send Pat a 760 so that we all had the same gun. But Pat argues that his was wildly inaccurate. I'm going to say that after analyzing his video, because I got to do the edit on it for him, I think Pat just didn't watch enough can cuts beforehand to get the nuance of the can cut.
Now, there is Pat, a technique.
You had a rather impressive score, and by impressive, I mean with a really big dose of sarcasm. And that's not like you. You are a force to be reckoned with when it comes to shooting. And it was almost torturous to watch that poor can just taunt you. What was going on with that day, Pat?
Well, I'd used the wad cutters, so I took that down. I practiced with the gun, figured out how many pumps was the best, aka feet per second kind of thing. The one thing I didn't do is I didn't put a swivel on. And that, I think, was the defeat because I couldn't get it to turn. So I kept putting it through the same hole a lot of times. But overall, I mean, I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun.
So fun fact, Pat, we're actually the can Piranha that I believe you used, I used, and Nibs used on his channel. since that video set, because Nibs did one, I did one, you did one. Since those 3 videos hit, the canned piranha has literally been flying off the shelves. So now if you order a canned piranha, which will hold any can you want, it comes with a swivel that is actually a ball bearing saltwater heavy duty swivel. So it's rated for 150 pounds of pull force. You're never gonna hit a can hard enough to get even close to that. But it does afford that rotation, which you're right, Pat. That is actually a really important component of the can cut. But you were going with 5 pumps every time. And as soon as you told me that, I was like, oh, he missed. If you watch Nibs do his can cuts, he will only go like 2, maybe 3 pumps. And the reason he does that is because that slow moving pellet, as it hits the can, doesn't punch a hole through it. It actually folds the tab down and tears the can.
Oh.
So when you go too fast, you get that 177 diameter hole. When you go slow, like painfully slow, like the 760 is really good at doing, painfully slow, you actually get a tear to form. And when you start stringing those across the can and then get your spin, that's how you get a really low score. And I was so close to at least tying Nibs.
You're one off.
When I was editing, I thought I actually beat him. But when I went back and checked the edit, I'm like, no, there were 3 shots that I wasted. They were not solid contact with the can. If I had those back, then I would have won. But wah. It's all in the crying now. But it, as silly as that game seems, it is a heck of a lot of fun because it's so strategic. One guy actually asked me, Pat, on my video, he said, I wonder if you did a CAD model and put puncture holes of the pellet diameter all the way around it, how many shots that would be. And the answer is like 48. If you could get perfect shots all the way around, and which is impossible with a 760 at any range, it would take 48. So to be able to do it in less than that, and here's the big kicker, Pat. Once you have enough of the material distressed or damaged on the can, don't shoot at the center of the can anymore. If you notice on a can, it's got that heavy aluminum down on the bottom. If you start aiming at that, you'll start to tear that aluminum can down, and that works gangbusters. So had I not taken those 3 shots at the middle of the can and focused more on the base, I think I would have done better. But still, if you look at the overall of this, at people, there's lots of people on YouTube that have done a can cut. That 30, I think Nibs got 31 and I got 32. And I'll tell you, if you haven't tried it, Airgun World, get yourself a can piranha or a piece of string and a fishing swivel. I like the can piranha. It's, you're never going to damage it. It's going to be quick, easy release, but check out the can piranha. All of my new ones ship with a holder for them or the fishing swivel, and get yourself in the game, because it's almost like, I hate to say chess, but there is a strategic element to the cut that you got to keep in your mind. And, one part of it is pellet speed. Another one is, don't use a round nose pellet, use a flat wad cutter to get that, that maximum impact. Use a really soft pellet. because you want it to deform a little bit. But yeah, all of those things all add up to really good scores. And heck, use the comments on the YouTube video and let us know what your can cut was.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'll tell you what, it is a heck of a lot of fun. In fact, I'm going to be doing some more of those this week with some guns that we're going to talk about a little bit. But Pat, if you want to do a rematch, you just let me and old Nibs know, and we'll entertain your rematch, and maybe we'll even give you a handicap. I don't know. I say that, but if there's one guy in this airgun world who doesn't need a handicap, it's Pat there.
Mm-hmm.
He's a remarkable shot, but he had some wind that day too. That was also one of the things that was affecting not so much the pellets, because at the range you're shooting, wind really isn't much of a factor, but the dang can was blowing all over the place.
Yeah. So, we were like 7 yards, so it wasn't that bad. But yeah, the can kept moving.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? It was fun, regardless. It was fun. I will say that Nibs did it inside, and I think we were both outside, so that's
so we get kudos for that. I'm gonna pat myself on the back.
I'll just leave that alone. I shot 50 pellets. That's what I'm going to tell people at a can, and I poked holes in it, and I had fun, and that's what matters. And I did my first video without Bill's help, so that's another win for me.
Super huge. and that first video is also on the Airgun Geeks YouTube channel as well, so you can check that out. I did take liberties when editing that, and I did make fun of Pat where appropriate, but it was fun.
Well, you picked up on it because I was picking on you two old guys.
oh snap.
Well, as far as like some new things that you might see me at some competitions with, we had a new airgun come into PBA, which is part of the problem. Working there is like an alcoholic working in a brewery, is what I always say.
And new always fun.
Was the Taipan /tactical, and this was the shorter barrel. I think it's like 450 or 420. I can't remember right now. I know their long one is the 550 millimeter barrel, which is what I'm looking at. As far as a semi-auto, it's pretty slick. Still pricey, but it's semi-auto. They're all up, above the 2,000 mark. And the one big thing I liked about it, well, there's two. One, the clips, they hold 12, but they're reasonably priced. So that was one thing compared to all the others. We're talking Leshy. We're talking the Mordax, which is by my brain just shut off. Who makes that? Western Airguns. Those are made here in the USA. That's the other thing. And I'm like, And you also got the Karma SLS. But the clips for the Mordax and the Sidewinders, God, they're like around $170, $180. These were like $65. And they have pellet versions and they have slug versions. And they go in and out real easy, which I found pretty cool. And they have a little post that you slide back and forth for the axle, which is also the secondary safety for this gun. Now, the other unique thing is you can decock it. So that's also cool. It does have a trigger safety. The only thing I don't like is the trigger safety. It's backwards. So you pull it towards you to have it off. Okay. But I guess that's not horrible. I will say though, because I'm a fast trigger finger, not trigger pinger. Regardless, you can outshoot the mechanism, which all it does is doesn't cock. So you just got to recock the gun. So, but like I said, one cool thing is you can cock it and you're like, okay, we're done. You can decock the gun and it's truly safe. All the other semi-autos, I mean, yeah, the Leshy you can fold in half, but if you don't and you put it in its gun bag, it's still ready to go if somehow that trigger were to be pulled. So I found that to be pretty unique. It's very light and whatnot, and you don't need a suppressor. If you do want to check it out in action, Rick Reams, Shooter 1721, did a really cool video shooting the 22, and he's shooting the JSB knockouts at 171 yards. Pretty cool video. So I was impressed, but as long as they don't change the rules on speed competitions, I think I have an up on it. So we'll see what happens. So that was a pretty cool thing. I think we might end up doing something on semi-autos, just because there's so many now. It would be cool to just bring that back to the forefront, because I get a lot of questions on them at the shop. So, you know, we'll get geeky with it. And then the other cool thing that Bill did videos on that we had a privilege of was something that Bill and I complain about, or I hear a lot of yapping. I need a sling for my air gun. And then out of the blue, because we didn't make it to SHOT Show this year, we had a fantastic gentleman,
Steve Wood.
Offer to come to Bill's property, and you could check those videos out. I'm very impressed, and definitely need to be checked out. And the Airgun Geeks might have a little twist on that coming up, but it's called Sling Guru. But check out the other videos that are already out. They go over the whole thing. Bill did pretty good on that.
And a real quick on that, these aren't just your average sling.
No.
These are it's a platform for your air gun or firearm. I mean, they were originally designed for police forces, SWAT teams, the military, all of the guys who have to go bump in the night. They're designed for those guys, but they actually work really, really well on air guns. And Pat, I did a little test myself where I put one on a gun that already had sling mounts, so I didn't use their sling mounts, and it worked beautifully. It gave me everything that the original included, and it was absolutely transformative, and much more comfortable, because you can carry truly hands-free. You're not always keeping your hand on that shoulder. And I got to say, it is the most planted way to transport your air guns in the field. If you're just roaming through the woods, maybe checking for some squirrels or whatever, it is a kick-ass way to keep that gun ready all the time.
And there's two styles. So there's a single point, three styles. There's a single point, which is really cool for, I do a lot of iguana hunting for like the lighter guns. Be really cool. It's even really cool on my my 300 Blackout, because it's a single point small guy and you just need quick follow up. But then like walking around with like your Impact or my Vixen, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So definitely check them out. Yeah, I'm impressed. All right. So anything new going on with you before we get into the meat of the podcast here? Because
I think that pretty much brings us up to speed.
Okay.
Aside from the new stuff that we're going to talk about here.
Okay, cool. All right. So, my favorite things that you always pick on me about, books. I prefer the audio side. But you've sent a pretty good email to me about a book, and it's called American Airguns.
That's what it's called. And
so
I'm not going to lie. I love to read. And actually, when I was a child, I had a really hard time reading. And my father, being a Marine, asked our pediatrician, "Hey, the kid's dyslexic. How can I fix that?" And the doctor was old school, and he said the best thing he can do is read more. As much as I hated reading, you weren't going to get by not doing what the Marine told you to do. that was not going to work well for you. So he made me read, and it was really embarrassing because he would go to the library on dollar book day and literally just shove books in a shopping bag and pay $1 for them, bring them home, and give me the bag and say, "You're going to read these." So he didn't even bother to look at what the books were about. It didn't matter. They could be, coming of age books about women. I'm like, for a 10-year-old boy, this is your suggested reading. But you weren't gonna challenge him on that very well. So I really developed a real love for reading. And, I always wanted to bring that to the podcast and kind of share what I'm reading about and what my thoughts were on the book. And for those that are listening right now on the screen, we've got a book called American Air Rifles. And this is by Dr. James House. And he's an interesting card. When you read this book, he really does paint the pneumatic pumpers that were popular in America from the 50s all the way up to I would say before the PCP craze kind of pushed them into the shadows. But he will tell you that these were the best air guns in the world. Now, he was speaking about the combination of affordability and what these guns offered. But what he does a magnificent job of doing in this book is backing up everything he's saying with actual hard data. And it's filled with, overall accuracy with different pellets, looks at velocity with number of pumps and pumping effort and all of that data. And of course, the three that he's really focused on are the Sheridan Benjamin rifles. And for those that don't know, the Sheridan was always a 20 caliber, although there were some special editions that did come in other calibers. But for the blue streak and the silver streak and the ultra grade, all of those were 20 cal guns, or most of them were. And all of them had bronze barrels, which a lot of people did not know. Those barrels were actually not steel. And I've never had anybody tell me that they shot out a barrel on one of those. And I don't think they will, because the air gun doesn't generate the throat pressure and temperature that a firearm does. So I think that bronze is going to be just fine. One thing I would reckon you don't do is use a bronze brush on one of those barrels, or you will probably wreck it. Soft cotton patches and felt cleaning buds only. Yep. But he also looks at the Crossman and the Daisy, and you see his comments kind of flop back and forth. But what was most entertaining about this book, Pat, was the way he absolutely chided the European spring guns. I don't know what this guy had up his backside about springers, but he freaking hates them. And every time he mentions them, he goes into the same things that he doesn't like. Oh, they move around too much after you pull the trigger. Oh, they sound terrible, and all of these things. And I get it. There are springers that are good springers, and there are springers that are great springers. If you've got a YROW 97K, if you've got a TX 200, if you've got a RWS model 4852 or 54, those are all really, really high-end European air guns, and with different stocks, they can get right into PCP price territory. But Pat, the nice thing about both the pumper guns and the springers, you don't need to haul any air around with you. All you need All you need is the gun and a tin of pellets,
Yep.
and you can
Yeah,
enjoy.
that top one, that's the 2100. That's what I had as a kid.
Well,
that's what I used to terrorize squirrels with.
in this book, Pat, I learned that there were two versions of the 2100. There was 2100P, which was plastic stock. There was a 2100W. Guess what that meant?
Wood.
Wood.
Really? Wow.
And the wooden ones also had a metal receiver.
Oh, okay.
So that's on my list of things. If anybody wants to give me anything and they have an old 2100W, I don't care if it's working or not. I don't care if it's in rough shape or not. But I'm on the hunt for one of those because I think that would be a really fun restoration and a great tool to beat Pat at the next can cut with.
Yeah, no. So that would come to me. Yeah, you guys have your childhood guns. I'll go with the 2100. So yeah, interesting.
I do have a friend right down in the Carmel Valley area, Pat. He's got a Silver Streak that I could probably con him out of for a weekend and maybe do a video on that because I've always looked at them, but in the scheme of American air guns, they were always the Cadillacs. They were the Mercedes-Benz of the pumper airgun market, where, heck, a 760 was like $30 for years. If you were really affluent like Pat was, and you had a 2100, they were like $60. But when you got into a Silver Streak or the Benjamins that happened after the two companies merged, those were, $150, $200 air rifles. They were on a different level. Now there's issues with the Sheridans. They were really challenging to get a scope to mount on them. They never really took that into account. There were some guys that machined dovetails on theirs, but they're rare that you're going to see those. But they are really hard hitting, really accurate pumper air guns. And they're all workable. They're all serviceable. You can get parts. Henry Ford is one of the resources for Crossman and Daisy parts. I believe there are outfits that sell seal kits and O-rings for the Sheridans and the Benjamins. You're going to get your parts through them because I don't think Crossman is supporting any of the old equipment anymore.
Yeah, that's with all that's going on with them. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's all sadness on that side.
Yeah,
and but hey, we can still get our hands on these things. We can still get them working again and make them part of our airgun journey. But yeah, that's my book review for today. This book, it's dated. I mean, I'll give you that, but it's dated in a fun way where you can look at it and say, this guy hasn't heard of PCPs yet.
Yeah. It's nice to go back in the past a little bit.
It is. And the data is really good too. It really gives you a way to look at things if you like looking at the data and making up your mind based on that. This book has got it. The appendixes in it are really good. And it's full of pictures of him, his grandkids, all out in the open mountain areas of Wyoming and Montana, just blasting things with air guns. It's a heck of a lot of fun. A good read. It's not in print anymore, but copies of this are available all over eBay, all over Amazon, and it's cheap. I mean, it's like I got one in perfect condition for $16.
Oh, wow.
So they're there. They're easy to get. And my next review may be on a book about the mental aspects of field target. If Pat and I can unearth it, we're like a couple of internet sleuths. I found out about this book and I got an early copy of it. I think I still have it on my tablet because I got it as an ebook. But then when Pat and I went to find it before we filmed today, it's gone. No, like it never existed.
Could it
So
be the Mandela effect?
it could be that Pat and I are both suffering from a cerebral brain hemorrhage, and it never really existed. But I actually I've corresponded with the author, so it's a really livid, accurate or detailed delusion, if that's real.
I know. I was just going to say, didn't you talk to the guy?
I did, and he was amenable to coming on the podcast. So I'm hoping I can get that sorted out with him this week. But yeah, hopefully this is going to be a regular segment on the Airgun Geeks, and we're going to talk about what Bill is reading or what Pat is reading, even if we can find it in audio. But this book wouldn't have been very good as an audio book because him reading all those data tables to you would probably put you to, while driving a car.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Let's see what else can. Well, with the upcoming stuff, a lot the big talk right now, as of March, is competitions,
Ooh-wee.
and more competitions because there's more and some don't exist anymore. So I know that the one that's coming up in May is called IPAC. And if you want to learn about it, because I know they still got spots, you would just go to IPAC, which is ipac-cup.com. And this is a brand new one. This is something that Bill and I haven't ever heard of until this year. And they're doing 100-yard bench with pellets. And then they're doing a 150-yard bench. You could use pellets, but they're saying you can use it's for slugs. So we'll see.
You would be crazy to shoot slugs or not use slugs in a 150-yard.
Yeah, I agree.
Outdoor range.
And then they're doing a PRS, but I know that the PRS competition is sold out. The 100-yard and 150-yard is not. And that's as far as I know, that's down here in Florida. So it's a little northern Florida. And like I said, May 6th through the 10th is that one. So that's a first anniversary. So that'll be interesting. Then the second one that would be coming up is the infamous RMAC, the Rocky Mountain Airgun Challenge. As far as I know, registration hasn't opened. And when I looked, it is supposed to open. It said countdown's like 15 days. So I guess that would be March 30th. And that is June 23rd through the 28th over there. And that's basically Provo, Utah. And I guess while you're over there, you might as well go check out the new Utah Airguns store that they have over there. It's massive. Then you just go to RockyMountainAirGunChallenge.com to learn about that and keep track of all of that. The next one isn't till August, but registration is opening up soon. I don't know exactly when, but it's the PA Cup, the Pyramid Air Cup. Yep, our favorite. Not just because I'm from Ohio. Might be because I'm from Ohio. That one's August 5th through the 8th. So they gave the dates for the competition. So if you're going to get housing, I would suggest it soon. It is a campground, so you can bring a trailer or sleep in the car or whatever you want. That is always.
But don't do it too soon because Pat and I need a non-handicapped cabin this year. We got pushed into a handicapped cabin last year because everybody else booked theirs early.
I booked it too fast. although this year we might do something a little different. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
Don't know yet.
I'm game.
And then the one after that, there's no date yet, but it's EBR. It's Extreme Benchrest. That's in generally Phoenix, Arizona. Registration opening is generally in August, and the competition is on October. So just keep an eye on EBR, though. That's Airguns of Arizona is a big part of that for that competition. And then there's little pop-up competitions that occur. Like last year, Bill came down and we did the Iguana Sniper Challenge. That was at the Hollywood Pistol and Rifle Range down in Hollywood, Florida here with Jessica from Iguana Solutions.
And that
Her
was a
channel,
lot of
Iguana
fun.
Solutions on YouTube. That was fun.
Was so much fun.
Yeah. So for those that don't know about it, it's basically extreme field target, which is a new thing that's taken off over the past couple years. And that's field targets that go up to, I think it's 150 foot-pounds and from 10 yards to 100 yards. And you're allowed up to 30 caliber. Technically, you can use a 22 long rifle, but we're air gunners, so we don't. And then we did the iguana sniper part, which is just like hunting iguanas. Very fun events, very timed. You only get so many shots and whatnot to do them.
Pat, I gotta pump the brakes here for a second. Who actually won that one?
Well,
between the two of us,
you won the. It's weird. You won the iguana sniper, and I did the field target. Whatever.
Yeah, he beat me with my own gun in field target.
I did, but you know, it's a team effort, so the team won.
We did. Know? You're absolutely right. We did do that. You're right.
So regardless, you know, we just threw people off. That was our strategy. You know, it was fun.
What surprised me is Pat's the guy who chases iguanas around for a living and shoots them ridiculously fast. And I thought, well, there's no way going into that contest I was ever going to survive. And I come out with the W. I was like, holy crap. It was fun, though. It was a heck of a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
I still have my targets out in the shop.
There's a lot of shooters. And you know, some things happened last year, and she wasn't sure she was going to do it. But she pulled it off, and there was a lot of people there. I have a lot of non-air gunners and people that didn't even have guns at all were just hanging out and having a blast. The food was good. The environment was good. It was just a grand old time. Yeah. So if we find out what's going on, we'll definitely broadcast it, whether it's through if we got enough time, through a podcast, or we'll throw a short out. You can also keep up on stuff on the Facebook page, Airgun Geeks podcast Facebook page. We also have a website called it's airgungeeks.com. You can keep on there. Might be adding some stuff to the blog and some other stuff. If you got any comments, complaints, ideas for the show, definitely email us at the airgungeeks@gmail.com. We're always open for topics. We're also open for criticism and positivity. You know, we always want to keep it family friendly and have a good time through all of this. You know, we call it the geekery. The podcast was meant to help people who don't know anything about air guns and people who are complete geeks like us. And we like to get the firearms guys on here and bridge the gap and have that little conversation. And basically tell them we have better standard deviations than you will ever achieve. So, especially now that everyone's shooting like subsonic, it's like, welcome to air gunning, you know, where one, it's cheaper, and two, you could shoot it in more places, and three, they're generally more accurate. So, but it's always fun to have that little.
My experience with subsonic 22 has never been higher accuracy, but you know, standard velocity 22 has always been, for me, the sweet spot. But, you know, Pat is he's an enabler of air gun addictions. And he did some stuff for me this month where I was buying some questionable air guns and I had to relay them through Florida to get them to California because California. I shouldn't have to say anything else.
California, yes.
Yeah, because it's freaking California. But anyway, Pat enabled my my desire to get some Beeman air guns. And to clarify this point, the brand Beeman is not unified. I found out through my research that There is a company, it's also Marksman Airguns, which if you remember those from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, they were notoriously bad, really cheap airguns. They bought the rights, or at least partial rights, to the Beeman name after Dr. Beeman gave it up. Oddly enough, Pat, your old employer, Pyramid, owns the rights to the good Beemans. And the reason I say good Beemans, Wyrow always made some really nice guns that were branded Beemans. The R1, the P3, P17. A lot of those Beemans were made by Wyrow in Germany. And to my knowledge, Pyramid still owns the rights to sell those under the Beeman brand. But if you ever get tempted to buy a Beeman airgun, that's like, you look at the price and you're like, wow, that's inexpensive. There's a reason it's inexpensive. And, it's not all bad. But two examples. One was the 2027, which was a pistol that I don't think they copied from anybody. I think it was a ground up design for them. I've operated shovels that were more comfortable than the grip on that gun. And I have enormous hands. My hands are really big. And that grip on that pistol is actually a little too big for me. And our friends over at what's the name of the company, Terry, that does all the 3D printed stuff?
Buckrail.
Yes, Buckrail. He actually sells the 2027 pistol stocks as bookends because he has a business selling an upgrade for that gun to put a reasonable grip on.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's got all these wooden ones, and he had nothing to do with them. He's like, well, I don't want to burn them. What do I do with them? And one of his relatives suggested making bookends out of them. So they are that bad. They really are. But I thought, if I get creative with a wood chisel and some carving tools, and this was the kicker, a really nice like modeling clay that is actually a 2-part epoxy. I was able to put my hand after I got the wood removed. I was able to form a thumb shelf on that stock. It came out very nice. It actually made that gun a much better shooter. But here's the big but: there's no regulator on it. So your velocity is constantly changing from shot 1 to shot 100. So you really got to pick your spot where you're accurate and just fill to that pressure, take shots, and then fill it back up. So you become the human regulator on that gun. But do spend the time to study it, because if you're just relying on, well, the gun still shoots, your point of aim is going to go up and down as you're discharging that gun. And the reason for that is it's a very, very simple slingshot valve on that gun. So when you release it, the hammer is going to hit and you get X amount of air out. So as that pressure drops, you get more air out of it. So when the pressure is high, your velocity is low. As the pressure goes down, you get this increase in velocity, which is totally backwards to me. But that's the way this gun is. So again, you got to be the human regulator. The other issue with it, the magazines are absolute rubbish. They're not timed correctly. So the pellet doesn't clock right. When you want to bring the bolt forward, the pellet's got to squish its way into the bore, which is just that. I was like, really, guys? You don't have quality control watching this kind of stuff?
Oh, God.
And the answer is no, they don't, because nobody in China can shoot an air gun or own one. So to think that they're air gunners, they're not. They're just trying to satisfy the American market. So my video on that gun is not going to be nice, but there is a path forward, and that is Tony. Or is it Tony? Big Air Precision is the guy. He's another manufacturer like Maple and Carm that makes really, really nicely made 3D printed magazines. What I really like about them, he always puts the gun name in big letters on every mag. So you don't look at this and go, oh crap, what was this for? It's written right on there. Troy at Big Air Precision. Magnificent service, really good designs, really good workmanship, nothing but positive. And it was actually Nibs that turned me on to him. But if you guys remember, I did a video before the holidays where I had this Model 160 sitting on the shelf for 38 years. And I took it out and dusted it off. I'm like, wow, this is actually a really good shooter. And then Pat tells me that that gun continues today under the QB name from Beeman. And it's the same company that manufactures them in China as the 2027. And I got one. And it took forever for it to get to Pat's house and then to here. I take it out of the box and I go to separate the action from the stock, because the first thing I'm going to do is adjust the trigger. I mean, they're always 3.5, 4 pounds. That to me is not acceptable. It's such a good trigger because they copied very faithfully all of the Crossman geometry. They literally, it's a knockoff of a 160, and they have PCP versions of it, COT versions. But I wanted the biathlon stocked 177 to see if it was a decent shooter. The barrel in it is fantastic. I have no qualms saying that. But man, the very first thing, separating the stock from the action, the mounting stud is bent. It's bent where the thumb knob is screwed in. So somebody at Beeman put a tool on that thing and literally over torqued it. They cross threaded it. And the reason they cross threaded it was because the thread on the other end that goes into the action was actually tweaked. So the whole stud was coming through the stock, kind of not centered with the clearance hole. The person who was trying to put that thumb nut on there stripped it and probably didn't want to take the hit from their own quality people, and literally put a stack of washers underneath the stud and then screwed it back in and shipped it out. And you know, okay, I get it. Guy didn't want to get in trouble for doing really crappy work. But here's where it lost me. I've had Crossmans that had issues out of the box. We've been there. But I called Beeman and really surprised that I actually got a human being. And he seemed like a really nice guy, seemed really knowledgeable about air guns. I sent him pictures of what was wrong with my gun. He's like, oh, that's not right. Let's get you those parts out right away. So I get the box. He sent me 2 parts that have nothing to do with my gun, Pat. I mean, there's not a part on my gun that matches these. And I gave him the model number of the gun that I bought and pictures of the parts. So I don't understand that. But then it got worse, because then when I tried to call him back to talk about that, nobody at Beeman will answer the phone anymore. Nobody's answering emails again. So I'm like, well, okay, now I know why they've got the notorious stories about them.
Yeah.
But don't think that this is the same as a lot of the Beeman guns that the Pyramid sells. A lot of those are Wyrow manufactured and very high quality. But the quality that you get on the cheaper Chinese ones. You know, if you're good with your hands and you can fix these things, and I'll tell you what I had to do, Pat, because they didn't send me the right bolt. So I literally had to mount it up in our lathe, the Airgun Geeks lathe. I mounted up that stud in there, and I got the nut to come off. And thankfully, the nut was much harder than the stud. So I was able to fix the threads on the nut. And then I was able to cut the end of the bolt off and then recrown the end of it to get the thread to engage correctly.
Yeah.
Bent it to fix the reason it originally failed, and got the gun back together. But I was kind of bummed that Beeman didn't even try to send me the correct parts. And if you didn't have a lathe and a way to do all that work, you would have just been out of luck. I mean, now luckily I did get it through Amazon, so the return would have been pretty easy. But this is way too much work.
Correct.
To make a gun shoot, the way it should have. And, the more I sat there I spent like 4 or 5 days working that stock on the 2027. And I thought, this was a gun that was designed by some guy in marketing. Literally just, Americans have big hands. Let's make the stock really big. Well, somebody who's not 6'3" and 300 pounds is not going to enjoy this at all. And that's true of Terry at Buckrail. He makes an actual 45 Colt 45 style grip for it, which is much, much better. There's just simply no reason for it to be so big. And the styling of it is clearly Asian inspired. I like my restructured look on it. I think, and because it's molded to my hand, it is really good. But yeah, that's my take on Beemans. Buyer beware. Caveat emptor. Proceed at your own risk. But understand that you may get an absolute POS, and you may have some work to do if you want to keep it. I opted to keep both of mine. I plan on refinishing that stock. It's got a really, really crappy finish on the stock. So I think I'm going to be sanding that down and giving it some true oil. But yeah, they're fun projects. But a new air gun shouldn't be a project.
No, it shouldn't. Gives a bad experience.
Yeah. But that brings us up to date. I think, Pat, I do have some interesting stuff that I've been working on. One of them is a pellet dispenser.
Ooh.
That you wear around your neck. So when you're in a field target match, you just twist this knob. And as each click is going to dispense one pellet out of the magnet. Wow. And they're all protected, so they're not rattling around against each other. Each one has its own chamber in there. Now, I didn't design this one, but I did redesign this one. This one holds 50 rounds, which if you're shooting in a Grand Prix isn't enough. This one takes it up to 70. And I think I like the actual gear, the detent mechanism on this one. I think mine is nicer. But I'm probably going to offer both of them on the Target Forge website if there's enough interest. I happen to love these things. I've been testing them in different materials on the 3D printer. I think I've come up with a combination that really gives a great feel and offers protection for your pellets. And you can't really dump these out. You're not going to bump your bag or your pouch and spill your pellets all over. You're going to really dispense one every time you tell it to come out. So that's been a fun project lately. But I think that's about it for me, Pat. do spend some time and check out Target Forge.
Mhm.
We still got all of the great, well, a lot of the great Target stuff that we've always had. Not so much on the swingers for the conduit, but we have all of the other stuff. We have the quickies for the ends, which,
Mhm.
as far as I'm concerned, mine are the best in the industry. You don't need any extra hardware. One part does it all. It's got spring retention for the tubes that go down, all of that stuff. Um, Also the can piranha,
Mhm.
great for unleashing unholy hell on some cans, and the the card shark too. That
Mhm.
that is a great way to get really good air gun targets. I mean, put a 10 of clubs up at 20 yards and only hit the suits on the card.
Yep.
If that doesn't push your accuracy, um, I don't. You must be Thane Simmons, because it does mine. I used to love to finish my practice with a 10 of spades up there, and only let myself go in when I got all of those spades punched. But yeah, it's a great way to turn a a dollar store deck of recycled Vegas cards into really good targets. The 300 weight paper on those prints so well. So I think that's all I got, Pat. Do check out Target Forge if you can.
Mhm.
It helps us keep doing this stuff.
So the other thing that we talked about in the beginning, Bill, was something from Donnie FL.
Oh, the big
Mhm.
contest
The
here
big
in
contest. So Donnie has offered a quarterly surprise or a
quarterly. That means
device. Four. So we'll be
four.
giving away four different suppressors.
Wow.
And from what I can remember from my notes right here, it looks to be a sumo. So the requirements for this is to go to YouTube. You have to like and, of course, comment and subscribe to the podcast. That's just the Airgun Geeks podcast. If you want to do the Target Forge one too, because that's also where this is broadcasted at, you can. But it has to be on the Airgun Geeks.
In order to be entered in the contest, you must do it
Mhm.
on the Airgun Geeks. So
Correct.
don't even worry about the Target Forge one. Go to the Airgun Geeks,
Mhm.
subscribe, like, and in the comment put the number sign, the pound sign, Donnie FL,
Correct.
all lowercase. So number symbol, Donnie FL, no
And then
spaces, all lowercase.
our next podcast, we will announce the winner. So you have till April Fools, April 1st, to enter. Other than that, that's it. Any final words of wisdom, Bill, before we work our way to the end?
No, springtime is here, my friends. Get out, fly some pellets, have some fun,
Mhm.
get in some trigger therapy. To me, it's one of the best ways to actually have a Zen experience, because if you don't think marksmanship is meditative, you're doing it wrong.
I hear you. And if you're down here in Florida, I'm generally at Palm Beach Airguns Mondays and Fridays from 12 to 6. Stop in, check out the place. Love to meet everyone. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please give us 5 stars and a review. That's definitely appreciative. If you're on any other forum, iHeart, whatever, please leave a review. 5 stars. We greatly appreciate it. Of course, check out the YouTube channels. Join the Airgun Geeks group page on Facebook. And if you got any things that you want to tell us, you know how to get a hold of us at airgungeeks@gmail.com. And with that, like always, stay